Larry Cernovitz, who will provide a prayer and invocation for the Board of Commissioners. So if you're willing, able, I'd ask that you please stand. And Rabbi Cernovitz, if you can join us up front. Thank you.
If you join me in the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Chairman Cubitt. Thank you for allowing me to be here with the rest of the commissioners and our wonderful Cobb County. As we offer this, we hope for this new 2021 year, much love, much peace, and kindness. As we pray, dear God, benevolent, compassionate, and gracious, abundant in loving kindness and truth, forgiving iniquity, rebellion, and sin, be with us as we begin this first meeting of 2021 of the Cobb County Board of Commissioners. Guide these courageous individuals to create holy space where healthy debate is encouraged and the dignity and autonomy of human beings is respected and loved. Dear God, let us remember that the world is not complete. We are completing it. In our brokenness, give us hope. Let us build the world with love. May the angels around us open our hearts, lift our spirits, and give us the ability to see ourselves in the other. We turn to our leaders of Cobb County, the state of Georgia, and these United States for inspiration and hope, direction and guidance. May they lead us in paths of peace, build communal cohesion through both word and deed. May the one who brings peace on high, keeping fire and water in a delicate balance, bring peace and growing safety and prosperity to our world. As this week we remember the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, may we take his words to heart. We are living in a historic moment. We're each called to take part in a great transformation. Our survival as a species is threatened by global warming, economic meltdown, and an ever-increasing gap between rich and poor. Yet these threats offer an opportunity to awaken as an interconnected and beloved community. The end is reconciliation. The end is redemption. The end is the creation of the beloved community. It is this type of spirit and this type of love that can transform opposers into friends. It is this type of understanding, goodwill, that will transform the deep gloom of the old age into the exuberant gladness of a new age. It is this love which will bring around miracles in the hearts of men. And may the words of Langston Hughes come to fruition. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain, seeking a home where he himself is free. Let America be the dream the dreamers dreamed. Let it be that great strong land of love, where never kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. And therefore, dear God, bless these commissioners. May God bless you with discomfort at easy answers, half-truths, and superficial relationships, so that you may work deep within your heart. May God bless you with anger at injustice, oppression, and exploitation of people, so you may work for justice, freedom, and peace. May God bless you with tears to shed for those who suffer from pain, rejection, starvation, and war, so that you may reach out your hand to comfort them and turn their pain to joy. And finally, may God bless you with enough foolishness to believe that you can make a difference in the world and you can do what others claim cannot be done, bringing justice and kindness to our earth, our children, and to humanity. The whole world is a narrow bridge, but the essence is not to be afraid. And together we say amen.
Thank you. You may be seated. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rabbi, you're going to find yourself a regular on this agenda if you keep doing that.
I would be honored, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, with that, again, thank you. We're going to call this meeting to order. This morning, I would like for us to approve the addition of an agenda item to have a presentation by our Public Health Department. And so they can provide us an update on COVID-19. We know that's certainly pressing on everyone's mind. This motion that I will present will need to pass 4 out of 5. And so I will ask for your support so we can have the update, which will be brought by the Director of Public Health and also Lisa Crossman. So with that, again, I move that you approve this addition to our regular agenda. Is there a second? Second. Great. Thank you, Commissioner Burrow. Commissioner Burrow is joining us remotely. Is there any discussion? All right, we'll call the question by show of hands. Okay, the motion passes at least by 4 out of 5. Commissioner Burrow, I can't see you. Did you support the motion?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes 5-5. So with that, we'll turn things over and have a presentation by Public Health this morning.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Thank you for having us this morning. I'm Dr. Janet Memark. Let me see if I can turn my camera on. Is that okay?
Yes, we can see you. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So thanks for having us this morning. I wanted to go ahead and start by apologizing to everybody for the issues that we had yesterday. We definitely tested our website system and had some trouble with the amount of traffic that we had coming through. I'll talk a little bit about that, but I'll give you just a brief update on kind of the COVID situation that we're all in, and then jump right into vaccinations and what is going on right now.
Okay.
So for those of you that are following, you know that our COVID numbers for Cobb County are what's listed for the PCR numbers, which is the regular testing that we do. It's 918 cases per 100,000. When you add in our antigen numbers, the rapid testing, it's well over 1,000 cases per 100,000. So, you know, this is extremely high transmission that we're seeing at this point that's happening in the community. We have over 42,000 cases, and we have 584 deaths, and I know they were catching up on deaths yesterday that were coming in from the weekend. And so unfortunately, we continue to fight this battle with COVID-19 in our community. Our hospital situation, the hospitals, Keystone Hospital is #1 for number of COVID hospitalizations throughout the state, and continue to just keep rising in those numbers. There are very few critical care beds and medical surgical beds that are available in the hospital. And so we continue, they have bravely continued to try to take care of everybody that comes through with COVID and non-COVID to address the pandemic. You know, before I forget, you know, we're going to talk about vaccines, but we have a very serious situation that's going on throughout our county and community, and we really need to try our best to do what we know works. So continuing to wear our masks and washing our hands and keeping our distance, but really I'm asking folks to not go out unless it's absolutely necessary. We need to remember what we did when we first started this pandemic and knew we had community transmission, which was if you can stay at home, if you can work from home, do things that prevent you from having to leave the house and go and gather with people unnecessarily. This is the recommendation. Even for school, if you are able to have your children go virtual at this point, this is something that, you know, if you can do it, it is recommended. I know a lot of folks can't, and our schools have been really amazing about keeping the doors open to allow children to be in school. So just to explain a little bit about our website. So things went, they're back up now, but we had definitely some extreme problems. There were 2 different issues that we experienced. One was from our website, and we have never had anything like that happen to us before. When the information and links were released by Department of Public Health, by the evening of the 10th, we had reached 210% of capacity for our website. because then we found out it shared a server, and so it had to be shut down at that point. There were some concerns about, they had to make sure that nothing malicious was happening. And then eventually they had to move us to a different server. And so that's what took so much time. So that is back up and running. Our registration link is a little bit different of an issue. So the state of Georgia Department of Public Health is working on a universal scheduling site for us for COVID vaccines. And so we have been using, as for those of you that know, our district has been using the Microsoft Dynamics for our testing component. And it's being built for the vaccination part. And what is useful about that, not just the scheduling, but it also links onto the immunization registration system so that all that information can be automatically downloaded into that system. So what's happening right now is that we have to manually download and put that information in at this point. And so when our state went ahead and added our 65 and older, we had to build our own scheduling system, and so it did get overwhelmed. That our system is actually on the the servers, and so we had some trouble with that. So they're working to increase the bandwidth for us for a little bit, but by the end of the month, early next week, next month, they'll have Microsoft Dynamics going for us to have a little bit more seamless transition with this. But we're asking everybody, just please be patient with us as we do this. Even with the problems that we had yesterday, we sold out with all of our appointments for vaccines. And so as quickly as we put them out, they are being taken up that quickly. And so, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I mean, the fact of the matter right now is there's just not enough vaccines for everybody. And so everybody's trying as hard as they can to get those vaccines into arms. But it's ramping up, but it's still not enough yet. So with us, with Cobb and Douglas Public Health, so far we've vaccinated 2,500 people. Yesterday alone, we did over 700 through Jim Miller. And so we've been able to also share 850 vaccines with partners that have been able to rapidly vaccinate higher risk folks like our healthcare workers and some of our senior citizens. And so the more people that we have helping us, the more people we can get vaccinated. So we do spend a lot of time working with a lot of our partners on that, which include Kennesaw State University and Metro Ambulance and other groups in Wellstar that helps us to try to get to as many areas as we can. So the way that we're doing our vaccinations right now, we're using Jim Miller, and we really appreciate the county's assistance with that. Jim Miller Park has been, our staff has been living there now for about 10 months, and so they've been very grateful to be able to keep them a little bit safer trying to move through higher risk folks through our site. So right now we're doing Monday through Saturday through that site. I mentioned that yesterday we did over 700 vaccines at the Jim Miller site. Douglas Health Department is also adding vaccines today. Today will be their first day of doing it, so they're taking it a little slow to make sure they got all their procedures and protocols all worked out. Our citizens can go to either vaccine site, and you can actually go anywhere in the state of Georgia. We can't stop you from signing up with any county. We're trying to have as much availability as we can for our citizens, but you can go to other places. But you do need an appointment. It's absolutely necessary. I mentioned before, vaccine supplies are limited. We only release appointments based on how much vaccine we have, and we do it as much as we have on hand so that we don't run out and have to turn people away because of no vaccine. So our goals for Jim Miller will be to have over 1,000 shots per day given at the Jim Miller site. And we'll continue to work with our partners, and we're also working on a mass vaccination site for Douglas County as well. And our hopes for there will be over 1,000 shots per day as well, so that we can accommodate our community. We mentioned that you need an appointment to be able to get a vaccination. I told you they go very quickly. But you can check on our website, their links are there, but just in case, it's for Cobb, www.cdphcovidvaccineappointments.org, and for Douglas, it's www.douglascovidvax.org. So remember, please, you have to have an appointment because we are basing all appointments based on how much vaccine that we have. And then you'll get some instructions as well. So Common Douglas Public Health is actually one of the probably smaller partners in all of this. And so we know that we have a very large community of almost 1 million folks. And so we are not the only people that will be doing this. So that's actually very important because our site is a bigger site, but it's only one site. So when you go to the Georgia Department of Public Health website, they have the vaccine locator in there, and that's a great website that will be continually updated. So if you go there, there's already 4 providers that are on that list that are open to the public to provide vaccinations. And I know yesterday too, Wellstar actually released like 10,000 appointments to their patients to be able to help vaccinate. And that's really a huge help for our community because they are one of the biggest providers that we have. So we do have to have them help us when they're with vaccinations. So as we ramp up all of our vaccination sites, we're also working on outreach. So we know that people don't have internet access and they don't have cars that they can come through a lot of times. So we're building outreach teams that have nurses available that will be able to go out and to help vaccinate and go to higher risk places such as our school system to help vaccinate our educators there. We're also working with Wellstar and our outreach efforts, just like they were with testing, to try to go into our more vulnerable communities and communities of color that really need to have more access to vaccines and testing. We have a mobile unit that'll be coming soon, and so they got slowed up by the pandemic, and so they'll be coming soon to be put out to also reach some harder to reach areas in our communities as well. So the final reminders I wanted to leave with everybody, I know this is a really hard time and there just aren't enough vaccines, and we ask everybody to please be patient as we try to roll out these appointments and vaccines. We'll be rolling out Saturday appointments soon and then some appointments for next week. And so we're going through our inventory to see how many we have and make sure we have vaccines on hand before we release appointments to everybody. So you don't have to get the vaccine from the same place. The only criteria you have is to get the same vaccine. So if you received Pfizer first, you get the next Pfizer dose around 21 days. If you got a Moderna vaccine, you should get a Moderna vaccine at 28 days. And so you can go, your providers may be offering vaccines. So if you received it in one location but are able to get an appointment at another location, you can do that. Please keep watching that DPH locator, the vaccine locator, because you'll see more and more folks being added to the list that will provide access to our community for vaccines. Remember, you can go to any county to get the vaccine. You just stay within the state of Georgia. And I just want to leave everybody with, we are really in a very, very dire situation. We are seeing our cases from the holidays and from people gathering, and there's just no end in sight right now. And so even though we have vaccines, it's just not enough for us to reach herd immunity anytime soon. So please, we implore people to try your best to shelter as best you can and not go out unnecessarily and gathering with people that are outside of your immediate family. This is a very important time where we cannot continue taxing our healthcare systems because they will eventually break if they don't get some help soon. So I will leave us with that, and if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you for that helpful update. You shared a lot of information to help clarify not only where we are with the pandemic and COVID, but what happened with people trying to schedule their vaccination appointments. What I'd like to do is open it up for commissioners to ask you any questions, and then I'll just summarize some of the highlights that I heard from your presentation. So with that, I'll start with Commissioner Gambrill, if you have any questions. No questions? Commissioner Richardson?
Hello, can you hear me? Perfect. So I just want to say thank you so much. I know you're working around the clock to make sure that we are delivering what we can deliver. I will say there were some questions, and I think just for transparency's sake and for the community's sake, if we can identify maybe 1 or 2 points, 1 or 2 reasons why our rollout was different from the other counties, I think it may go a long way. There were issues. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So I think the major issue is just the website links that we had trouble with, and so I mean, I think we just were the victim of bad luck why we had trouble with it. And so I think even though when everything is back up and running, I don't think it's going to be that much easier to get appointments, because we heard from one of our neighboring districts, they released 9,000 appointments yesterday and they were gone in 6 minutes. And so this is, I mean, tells you just how few vaccines we have compared to demand right now. And so I know once we release any of our appointments, they'll be gone. So, you know, the state system with registration will probably not be perfect. They told us they're going to increase bandwidth, but we're waiting for the dynamic system to come on board. And so, you know, I don't really have anything else on that, except we just had some bad luck with that.
And Commissioner, if I can add, this is Lisa Crossman. I would say that although there was a lot of pain yesterday with the website, the execution of giving vaccine has been very smooth. When we started out at the beginning giving vaccines to healthcare workers, we've been doing that in our clinics for several weeks now. The staff had continued to do major testing, high volume of testing out at Jim Miller Park, and within from one day to the next, with about an hour of adjustment time, they transitioned that whole park from a testing site to a vaccination site very seamlessly. And then all of everything we've heard from everyone that has come through has just been major compliments to the staff, who have been working in 30-degree weather and the rain to give these vaccinations. And so all appointments have been taken, all vaccines have been given, very high level of customer service once they got in the appointment and were able to come get a vaccine. So I do want to make sure to point that out and give kudos to our staff for that effort. And then also to thank our other partners like Cobb Fire, who've been working tirelessly to be able to vaccinate our public safety workers. Remember, they were added to the 1A plus category as well. And so we worked with different partners like Cobb Fire to be able to serve the municipalities and the county public safety folks so that they would not be having to come through in a large volume clinic or a large volume mass event. And then Metro Atlanta Ambulance has been working around the clock as well to vaccinate a lot of large healthcare worker practices for us, and to be able to help start to vaccinate some of our private and public school teachers who were 65 and older.
And I also just wanted to clarify, I just got texted, we were not the only website that crashed. So Gwinnett also crashed as well and had trouble with their website, just the volume coming through.
Thank you. And Lisa, I appreciate what you shared. I think it's important to humanize this pandemic, not just on the side of residents and citizens, but also those who are working to address the pandemic and realizing all that's been put on them to make sure that they're addressing these issues. So thank you for taking time to provide additional clarification on what's been going on, and to commend the staff. Commissioner, do you have another question?
I was going to just say thank you for the extra points, clarification, and that leads into my last point before I say out of you, but to just think about ways that we may be able to assist any further. I understand it's a state rollout, but obviously if we can be of help in making anything smoother with regards to resources or what have you, please just keep us informed along the way. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't have any. Thank you. Commissioner Burrow, do you have any questions?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I too would like to say thank you to Dr. Memark and Lisa for your responsiveness. Yesterday was a little challenging, to say the least, and I know our phones were blowing up and emails, and I appreciate your assistance and promptness. I do have just one question mainly. How often or how many vaccines, how often do you get shipments? How do you know how many days out you can schedule? What when I have been fortunate enough to get in on the website, all the dates are gone. So it usually says server busy now. But when I do click in, get in, I try to go a week out, and every day through the end of January, there's no availability. So does that mean that all the appointments through January are taken?
No, so thank you, Commissioner. That's a great question. So we thus far have only scheduled through Friday, and so we have gotten some more information, and that we'll be getting more vaccines. So your question is like the question of the hour. We receive a shipment one day over in our Douglas location, and then we have received another shipment today, and so it is a bit sporadic. The only good thing I can say right now is that they seem to be better about keeping up with what we're asking for the drive-through. So that's good news. So we just found out today that we have been approved to receive another shipment that will get us through next week. And so we'll be releasing appointments, and they're getting all of that ready. So it's a week at a time. And like I said, I don't like to release appointments to know we're going to have that vaccine on hand. Otherwise, I think it'll cause much more trouble. So right now they're keeping up with our demand. And as we ramp up, we just pray that production ramps up too, so we'll be able to keep up with all of that.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Great. Does anyone else have any additional questions? And I know you've been getting a lot of messages from our families and those that have students in schools. Do you have any word for those parents?
Yeah, so we've been getting a lot of questions about that, and thank you for asking that question, Madam Chair. So yeah, the schools are the foremost on our minds as well. And we actually have almost all of our epidemiology teams that are directed towards the school systems right now. And so I know there was a lot of misinformation that was out there about the school systems and our involvement in contact tracing. And so I do want to clarify that a bit. We are in continual contact with with all of our school systems, and we have contacts with our private schools as well. As we went through and the case rates continued to rise, of course, we were concerned too of making sure that we can try to keep people in school as safe as possible. And so we had these discussions with all of our school systems that we needed to make sure contact tracing happened as quickly and effectively as possible. Because the school systems all have they have the information for the contacts while the people are in school. We rely on them to give us that information. And so we made it a little bit more uniform coming back from the break, and made sure that all the schools were on board on what we all needed to make sure that we did this very quickly. And so Cobb Schools, I'll talk about that one. That's the largest school district that we have. And so, all of our epidemiology teams are focused right now with watching what's happening with the Cobb schools and any other school districts as well. We have teams that are all assigned. But for Cobb, when cases are rolling in, we identify if there's multiple cases within a school, and that immediately alerts our team to take a deeper dive to look at that school and see if there's a problem there. And so we've been working for that to happen successfully. We do need that information from the school system as quickly as possible. And so far, they've been doing a really good job about getting that information to us. And so with the contact tracing, contact tracing is a very large operation. And so internally, we do need that internal school contact information from the school. And so they are going ahead and doing that. And then we work on all external contacts, and then any links between anybody at the schools. We work on any possible outbreaks within schools. And so just to clarify, they have always been doing internal contact tracing. It's just something we just made it that had to be a little bit more efficient to be able to safely be in school if they continue to go face to face.
Right. Well, thank you for all of the information you shared. More importantly, just thank you for your heroic effort and leadership of Cobb Douglas Public Health and our county's response to this pandemic. for what seems to be going on a year now. I can only imagine how taxing this has been to you and your organization, but to also your respective families. Lisa, I just appreciate you again helping to share with us the impact that this has on those working behind the scenes and how they've been stepping up. And thank you for your leadership as well. I know I've seen you at a number of events helping to share caution, concern, and data with people in the community so that we can do our part to help reduce the burden on our population and also on the workers behind the scenes. Just a few very quick points from what I heard today is continue with the same thing of washing your hands, wearing masks, don't go out unless it's necessary. The unfortunate matter with our website just happened to stem from it being over capacity at 210% than what they had the capability for. The website is up and running now. However, people will still have challenges getting appointments that they get taken up as soon as they get put out there. And really, the appointments are being made available at a much smaller scale than what I think a lot of people realize, where one county had 9,000 people take appointments within 6 minutes. If you look at our 65 and older population here in Cobb County, it's about 12%, 13%. So out of 700,000 people, that's tens of thousands of people, ranging towards 100,000 people. So we just ask for you to please have some patience with us, and I think that was the operative term that you used. Please have some patience with Cobb Douglas Public Health as they try to get things up and running. With the population that I shared, their goal, meaning they haven't hit this goal yet, but the goal is to have 1,000 appointments available per day. So keep that in mind as you are signing up. They don't necessarily know how much shipment they're going to get and when they're going to get it. So dealing with some constrained circumstances on their end. So please, provide a little bit of grace towards them. Patience and grace, I think, probably are two operative terms. They are working on having a mobile unit, which can help to get the vaccine out, particularly to areas where there's difficulty with access. And they are partnering with Cobb County Schools, where the schools are taking care of contact tracing inside the schools. Cobb Douglas Public Health is addressing the communication outside of the school. But everyone, just be mindful that there are real people behind this effort to make sure that we are addressing the pandemic and to get the public vaccinated. And let's do our part to make sure that we are not exacerbating the burden that's on them. The numbers were shared that we are almost at 1,000 cases per 100,000 people. I believe the number is 100 out of 100,000 cases is deemed to be high. So if we're at 1,000, you can only imagine how severe this pandemic is. So let's do our part. Thank you, Dr. Memark. Thank you, Lisa, for doing your part today and bringing this update to us during our meeting.
Madam Chair, can I add just one more thing to
Yes,
that?
ma'am.
Is that okay? And thank you so much. We really appreciate the county's support. And we've even had some volunteers that are coming over from the county as well to help us with this.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add on the one thing that, Cobb and Douglas Public Health, I know we've really been a big face of this pandemic, but when we get to vaccinations, this is a community response, okay? So we will not be able to do this alone. And so I want to make sure everybody understood the vaccine. I think the new administration is trying to get even more vaccines out from the federal government. And so your providers will start getting vaccines, and there will be even retail places that you can get vaccines. So please keep on the lookout for different places, because we will be able to, we want to do at least 1,000 to 2,000 a day between both sites, but that's still going to be relatively small compared to what can be done if we all work together in the community. So I just want to make sure everybody realize that as well. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Appreciate that information. And the website you shared for people to find out the locations available is the Georgia Department of Health website. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. A
Yeah,
vaccine
it's on
locator.
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much again for your time today. I know today's your first day kicking off that 1A group, so really appreciate you taking time to be with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. With that, we are going to move towards our first tab in our agenda. We have a public hearing with the Department of Transportation.
Good morning, Chairwoman Cupid, Commissioners. It's very
Good
nice to
morning.
see you this morning. Cobb County Department of Transportation is a recipient of Federal Transit Administration funding. FTA requires that all direct recipients document their compliance and the U.S. Department of Transportation's transit-related Title VI regulations by submitting a Title VI program update once every 3 years, or otherwise as directed by FTA. This current Title VI program update on file with FTA is scheduled to expire March 31st of 2021. So with that, I would like to request that the Board of Commissioners conduct a public hearing for the transit-related 2021 Title VI program update.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director. If anyone is here to provide a presentation during our public update, you may please line up in the middle of the room, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to address this specific topic of the Title VI program update for Cobb Link. Is there anyone here for that public hearing? With that, I'll call the public hearing to a close.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll be moving to public comment. Yeah.
Chairman, we have 6 people that have signed up this morning. The first speaker, public speaker is Preston Morris.
Very good.
Mr. Morris, the timer is on the sheet. Oh, okay. You'll see.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
My deal is Airbnb.
I'm sorry, excuse me, one moment. Can you repeat your name, please, sir?
Preston Morris.
Preston Lawrence.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
go ahead, sir.
Okay. Mine is Airbnb, and it's not the Airbnb room rentals. This is concerning when they rent the whole house in neighborhoods. And I never knew much about them until I got one right beside me. And it's quite an eye-opener. You got people that come in from all over. You don't know who they are, where they're from. They walk up on your property, and I just don't live next door. I live beside a subdivision. I'll have a 150, 200-foot driveway. No trespassing signs, private property. For some reason, they think my pasture is a community field, as they call it. They fly up in my driveway at night when they're looking for the house. I can't have my grandkids over playing because they rent out the whole house for weeks at a time to construction crews. Now, I don't know who these men are. I checked with Airbnb. I said, how do you tell if they're registered sex offenders? And they said, well, we get our license and ID from the one person that rents the house. Who they bring, we don't know. So either way, it's a lot of aggravation. And so to try to find out where I stood on the line on the laws, when they bring 8 and 9 cars, I go up to the code office, and R30, you only got 4 cars per residence. But being Airbnb, somehow they got immunity from the law because the code office says there's nothing we can do because they're only here a week or 2 weeks. Well, then get to the homeowner. They're the one that's invited them over. The law should stand for the residents. You know, if she wants to invite 10 people, then let her pay the code violation law, whatever it is. I went and renewed my little business license. They don't have to have a business license for an Airbnb. And if the code enforcements can't be enforced for parking or number of vehicles, I know this summer when the weather warms up, who am I going to call when the party and the noise ordinance? According to Cobb County, from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., it's supposed to be a little bit quiet. So I know it's going to happen. We all know it's going to happen. So who do I call? Do they get immunity because it's an Airbnb? But either way, it's just, I know there's no rules, regulations, but it affects everybody that's in a neighborhood. So I would just hope y'all do some picking on this thing and figure it out, because I've lived there 37 years, and your sense of security is gone, because all of a sudden you got just a crawler load of people and trucks, coming and going, and you can't get in and out of your driveway. They block you in. They block both sides of the road. They park on the grass. It's just a mess. It's just a big mess. It's like living next to a motel. Now, I didn't sign up to live next to a motel. So I know the states may be getting involved, but whatever is involved, they need to put some hooks in this stuff, because it affects everybody in here. Everybody that lives in a neighborhood, you never know when the house next to you going to come on. And it's just like I said, it's just like living next to a motel. You can't have your kids, your grandkids out playing. You got people walking around. It's not a good thing. And I know y'all going to talk about it, and I just want to let you know I ain't real happy with it.
Certainly.
But there's nothing I can do but voice my opinion, and that's all I'm doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Just for clarification, Bill, did we capture their contact information for follow-up?
Yes, we did.
Okay, thank you.
The next public speaker is Tracy Miller.
Good morning, everybody. My concern, and thank you for this opportunity. My concern is the renting assistance programs. This is a really strange and unfortunate situation that my husband and my family's in, because we're, with the pandemic, everybody, excuse me, is, there are numerous people struggling. Probably more than half is not used to being in this situation, as we are not. But it's left us in a situation where we had to reach out and try to get some assistance from one of the agencies. Is it okay to say the name? Cobb Home Savers. The people there that I spoke with and that was working with me were like extremely helpful. But I ended up being in a situation where the apartment complex where we live would not accept the funds. And after months of working with Cobb Home Saver, I could have been paying on my rent, but based on the fact that everything was approved per Cobb Home Savers, I opted to take care of other obligations, like keep my car so I could go to work and, feed my family. So it left us in a really bad situation. And then at the end of the day, the apartment complex decided that they were not comfortable submitting their W-9, which was a requirement of Cobb Home Savers. So now it's got us in a situation where if it wasn't for the stay or whatever, we would probably be homeless. So I don't know what could be done. I don't know. I just wanted to mention it, and I am grateful. I know that that company, Cobb Home Savers, as well as Star Sea and some others, have helped a lot of places, a lot of people, and I'm really grateful for that. But it just kind of has us in a situation where we don't know what to do. And I thought that, once it was approved by the company that was going to give the money, I couldn't understand why the place where I live would not provide the information that they needed to accept the money. So that's like extremely baffling to me, but I just wanted to mention it, and I thank you guys for your time. Yes, ma'am.
Brianna Perrins. timer's on. Podium.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Breon Perkins. I'm a junior political science major at Bennett College, and I represent We Thrive in Riverside Renters Association. I would like to say first, congratulations to Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Sheffield, and Chairwoman Lisa Cupid. I would also like to share We Thrive Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. event that we will be doing on this weekend. On Friday, January 15th, we will host a Read to Succeed Zoom Fest from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. We have 8 VIP readers that will read to all ages who Zoom in. On Saturday, January 16th, we will deliver community newsletters in the Riverside community with updated community information. On Sunday, January 17th, we will host a drive-through good food pantry at Kingsley Village Apartments from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. On Monday, January 18th, we will be a day of reflection as we encourage everyone to attend online observations that will be hosted throughout the day by some of the organizations that will be included: SCLC and Cobb and WACP. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you, and great seeing you, Brianna.
Denise Strayman.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
My name is Denise. Good morning. My name is Denise Stroman. I'm here today. My family has been impacted during the pandemic.
Excuse me, Denise, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
having difficulty hearing you. I know you may be soft-spoken. If you could
Okay.
just help us in leaning towards the mic, that could help us hear you a little bit better.
Is that a little bit better?
That is better. Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you. My name is Denise Stroman. I'm here today. My family has been impacted during the pandemic. I had reached out to Star C for assistance, and I was able to get the application, but once I went to the leasing office, the management was denied it because the owners did not want to fill out the forms. And I have friends, my children's friends, that also has been impacted at their apartment complex, and they reached out to Star C, but their apartment complex as well are not accepting Star C. And that's all I wanted to share.
That's unfortunate. Thank you for letting us know.
Thank you for
Yeah.
your time.
Thank you.
Monica Delancey.
Good morning. Monica Delancey, We Thrive in Riverside Renters Association. Again, congratulations to Commissioner Richardson, Commissioner Sheffield, and Chairwoman Lisa Cupid. I want to first discuss about We Thrive in Riverside Renters Association receiving the Oprah Winfrey Foundation grant that was awarded to us last week. A little feedback. Oh, thank you.
That's a big deal.
A little feedback of how we received the grant. We did not apply for it. The way it came about was December the 16th, CNN came out to the Thrive Resource Center, and they wanted to speak with families, Black women, Latino women, about how the pandemic affected families of color. Prior to the pandemic, and you know I've said this before over and over again, that Black women, Latino women were being evicted at an alarming high rate, and Matthew Desmond wrote a book about this. So CNN came out, did the story, and December the 18th, it aired, and it reached Los Angeles. The story reached Canada, overseas, all on the East Coast, everywhere that CNN is popular, right? And that's how we were on Oprah Winfrey's radar. And when she contacted me, her philanthropy foundation person contacted me, I did not know who I was speaking with.
I just thought that she wanted to learn about what's going to happen after the moratorium is lifted. We were talking more about policy. And so when she asked me to submit some of my, what the Thrive Resource Center needed, my list was so modest that that's when she told me, Oprah Winfrey wants to help you. Oprah Winfrey wants to help the families you've been working with. And I said, I was still kind of shocked. But then we got on the Zoom call together. I was excited about being on the call with Oprah Winfrey. And so when she wanted to hear more about what I was doing in the community, she wanted to hear more of the volunteers. She told me, she said, I don't want you to have that Christmas party you're planning inside. I want you to have it outside. And so you have it outside, I have a surprise for you. So originally I thought the amount that she said that she was going to share was 15. It wasn't until Breon, my daughter, read the paperwork, she saw it was 50. So from there, we were so glad that to receive that. We came up with a plan. We partnered with Sting Inc. to be our fiscal agent, and we came up with a plan to award 45 people with $1,000 on their rent in February. And in order to receive it, they have to attend a workshop. Oh, thank you. Thank you. So they have to attend a workshop where they will learn about workforce programs. They will learn about other resources, and they create a plan because they know that these resources are short-term. And thank you for the applause, but I also want to remind us that we have to be intentional of finding solutions long-term. As you heard, some of the apartment complexes are not taking some of the assistance. We do know most ministries have the tenant-based rental assistance program, but it's only up to 24 months. We know Zion Keepers have it. So it almost, I have to be reminded of watching those commercials, especially Senator Ralph Warnock commercial, when he said that he was raised in public housing. And him and his 11 brothers and sisters, he had 11 brothers and sisters, and his parents had a business. But, you know, public housing saved him. At least he didn't have to worry about being evicted. At least he had to worry about moving every year. And so I'm gonna have to be, we have to embrace the fact that maybe this might have to be the conversation as we move forward for 2021 and beyond. Thank you for allowing me to share.
Thank you.
Linda Van.
Good morning to the board and to those attendees. I am here because I have been made aware that CARES funding may be available to 3 agencies in Cobb County. And I'm from Sweetwater Mission, so that's one of the agencies being considered. And I don't know how many people know about us, but we've been in business since 1968, serving our community. Our mission is prevention of hunger and homelessness by stabilizing families with basic services and transforming lives through education and employment opportunities. For many years, we offered financial assistance to family for rent, utilities, and medical. We've always offered food and clothing. And I'd like to do a shout out to my organization in this time of COVID. Last year, we served our community by distributing 1.5 million pounds of food and in-kind donations to other agencies that were having food give-outs of 100,000 pounds of food. We did that in COVID with limited staff and very few volunteers. So we have expanded in mission to include a housing initiative in partnership with United Way of Greater Metro Atlanta. Preventing hunger and homelessness by providing basic needs was our original mission, and it has been our mission for 53 years. We continue to operate our original programs with excellence while focusing on transforming lives through education and employment opportunities. Our latest program will be an education center where we focus on workforce development, including life skills and other skills to help people move up, and with case management. And our goal is to effectively assist our clients in overcoming the barriers commonly associated with poverty and long-term unemployment and help transition our clients towards self-sufficiency. I was the case manager for 5 years for the Kids Home Initiative, which was a homeless program in a partnership with United Way. We serviced clients by helping them get into housing and also preventing eviction. We provided case management and resources in the community so that they could have everything they needed to get a step up. We did budget, financial literacy, and provided, like I said, case management for a year. Our community partners were Communities in School, Good Samaritan Health Center, and Must Ministries. And although it wasn't a crisis or an emergency type assistance to families, we did have to negotiate with families that were facing eviction. And we successfully negotiated settlement and payment with landlords to keep families housed. Financial aid clients were referred by social worker and case management in our community. We verified the needs of each family, and we were able to assist a maximum number of families with our resources. Payments were made directly to vendors and landlords, and all financial assistance was documented, and records of each transaction was kept secure and confidential. To evaluate the success of our financial assistance, families were contacted at 3, 6, and 9 months to verify that families were still housed and able to meet monthly expenses. As case manager for the Kids Home Initiative, I have relationships with Cobb County schools and social workers, in addition to working with the majority of leasing agents for apartments in Cobb County. Partnerships with churches and civic organizations in this geographical area provide ease in reaching out to the community to provide assistance to families. Sweetwater Mission has the expertise and office space to assess clients and fulfill the requirements outlined in the MOU. And we have 3 case managers for client intake, each with experience and degrees in social work and human services. And we can guarantee that one of our case managers will always be available for the magistrate court to assist in negotiation between tenants and landlords who have not been contacted. We have experience in reimbursement for service programs in the past through our partnership with United Way 211. So I just wanted to make the statement that Sweetwater Mission is able to handle this funding should it be awarded to the 3 agencies in Cobb County. Thank you for your time.
Chair Cupid, that concludes the first speakers for this morning's meeting.
Thank you. We will now move on to the consent agenda. I believe for this meeting, the consent agenda items will play at the end of the meeting so that each one can be given adequate time. Is it queued? Okay. I'll just ask the board. Would the commissioners like to have the consent items queued at the end, or would you like to see it scroll right now? You're okay? The scroll is fine? Okay, why don't we just scroll it for today so the public can also see it before we vote on it. The consent agenda is where we will vote on all these items in bank or at one time. Okay, I believe agenda item number 46, we will need to have a motion of 4 out of 5 commissioners to add that agenda item to consent. That agenda item authorizes the application of emergency rental assistance, which is available under the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. With that, I move that we support this motion. Is there a second?
Chair, is my understanding that was being added to a regular item and not a part
So
of the
we'll pull that
consent?
from consent?
Yeah, it should have been in the regular and not attached to the consent, so I apologize.
No problem at all. We'll pull that, and we will hear that as part of the BOC Chair Commission item. So for those viewing this at home or on screen, that last item will actually be heard during the next tab of the regular agenda. Okay, with that, I move that we approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Are there any questions?
Second.
All right, call a question. All in favor? Okay, I see you, Commissioner Burrow. That passes 5-0. Thank you. With that, we will move forward with our BOC Chair regular agenda tab, and that will be presented today by our finance manager and one of our county attorneys, Debbie Blair. And before we go ahead and have them present, we'll go ahead and add it now, that agenda item number 46, as it will be added to this tab. So with that, I move that we add agenda item number 46 to the agenda to authorize the application for emergency rental assistance funding available under the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any questions? Okay, we'll call the question. All right, motion passes 5-0. Thank you. All right, good morning, Debbie.
Good morning, Debbie Blair with the County Attorney's Office. I'm going to present item 28, which actually has 3 purposes. The first purpose is to extend the deadline for some of the grantees. Let me back up just a moment. There were several programs that we approved, that this board approved throughout last year under the Corona Relief Fund to allow monies for school assistance, housing, food, job training, various things. Some of those entities still have some additional funds left under the CARES Act. One of the purposes of this agenda item is to extend the deadline because the last COVID relief fund that was passed by Congress and signed into law on December 27th extended the coronavirus relief fund deadline until December 31st of this year. So there are 4 memorandums of understanding that we're going to extend the deadline for. That is Cobb Public Health, the Star C program, and the 2 Home Free programs. As well for the various housing programs in existence, which is Star C and Home Free. We are going to reallocate some of those funds. This does not change the amount of the funds that were approved last year by the board. It simply reallocates monies from the various programs in an attempt to reach people that are using it. And so we're taking some where we have extra and giving it to some that have spent out or have used their funds. In addition, we are asking that the board delegate its authority to move monies between the various housing programs to the county manager so that we don't have to come back before this board to simply reallocate monies. It's not approving any additional CARES monies. It's simply allowing the monies to be moved between the entities if one is spending more and there's not a need in another, with one of the other entities. And that authority would be delegated to our county manager, Dr. Jackie McMorrison. And if there's any questions, otherwise I ask that the agenda item be approved as presented.
I'll make the motion and see if there's any discussion. Yeah. Oh, so moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yes, any discussion?
I have discussion.
Okay.
I was going to say, I'll make a point. So I know that there have been some concerns raised about the Home Saver program and whether or not getting those funds out effectively has been adequately looked at. I think, while this motion doesn't necessarily address that point, I believe there is space as a follow-up to look at why perhaps the Home Saver program hasn't been as effective as we would like it to be. And of course, making sure that we have available funds for all the rental assistance, because those programs have been effective in administering the needs. And I believe there's also space, hopeful, optimistic space, that there will be additional funds coming federally to address some of the gaps next time around. So, only comment.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Gambrill?
I have a problem with this agenda. Yesterday in work session, we were told that Star C is going to be going through $350,000 a week. However, we are only providing funding for them to get through the end of January. This is a known successful program, unlike, and I'll address the whys of why the home free one has not been successful. Yet we're only funding them through the end of January, except we're extending their MOU to the end of March. I don't understand why we are starting to potentially have 3 new MOUs that are very similar to the Home Saver. And the reason why the Home Saver hasn't been successful is because the people who are participating in the program are not providing the documentation required. The documentation requirements for the new programs are the same as the existing in the Home Saver. And it goes back to the individuals not providing the documentation. So until we remove that barrier, we're not going to be successful at administering funds. Yes, there is an issue with the landlords not wanting to participate. What have we done to break that barrier? A lot of people decided to participate in the PPE program when it first came out, and then once they learned about the guidelines, they were sending the money back to the federal government because of the restrictions. While these funds don't have those restrictions, have we done enough in communicating to let the landlords know this? So again, until we break that barrier, no program is going to be successful. So I have a hard time supporting this agenda item, knowing that we do have a successful program in Star C who has been giving out $350,000 a week to help with rental assistance and not fully funding them at this time.
I'd like
Thank you,
to
Commissioner.
just add
Yes,
on to that a little
Commissioner
bit.
Richardson.
Yes, I think it's an adequate point, and that barrier was pointed out as well. And so that's what I mean is I believe we have some space to look at how we break those barriers, because we know that those issues will exist whether there's funding or not available to the county manager to redistribute. And then secondly, we also understand for Star C that that's what was requested on behalf of Star C. And we're anticipating, mind you, who knows, but we're anticipating that another round of funding will come from the federal government by then. So we're basically buying enough time, or at least from Star C's perspective, as requesting for enough funding to carry us until the federal government comes to an agreement or has a plan by which we can then make those consequent decisions on the new funding. So,
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson.
thank you.
I just want to add,
Commissioner.
excuse me, while I understand the basis of this is essentially to reallocate funds, the concern with Star C, as you mentioned, is one of the more successful programs, but based on what we've heard earlier today, Star C also have or deal with apartment complex that do not want to complete the required documents.
So to you all's point, we need to figure out a way to get past those barriers, because the bottom line is that the people need help with assistance. So everything else needs to be figured out among us, or also the landlords who are recipients of these funds, because people need to get their rent paid. So whatever we need to do collectively, and whatever programs we need to put in place, policy, then we need to act quickly, because these people need to stay in their homes. Thank you.
Thank you, and I appreciate acknowledging the concern, but looking to us to make sure that we figure out how we can address those concerns so that we're not providing barriers to those that need assistance. Commissioner Burrow, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, I do, just a few. I think everyone's heard the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. We have requirements and restrictions on this federal money. This is money that was dispersed last year. We were told it was ending, the funding was ending December 31st. Now we have an extension. This is federal money that we're responsible for, and we have to be sure that all the requirements and restrictions are met. So if the landlords don't want to fill out the paperwork, or the tenants don't want to, then they're not getting the money. And I see that there's a barrier, but we still have to have these requirements in place because of the money being dispersed from the federal government. So I think with this proposal, we're keeping money with Home Saver or Home Free for rental and mortgage that was approved earlier, that wasn't all spent. They're still keeping their part of that money, and the other money from that total amount will be some going to Star C and some to the 3 nonprofits. So I support this, and I think, down the road we can see we can't change the requirements now, and we can't really do anything, but maybe there is a way that these vendors can work with the folks, or magistrate court or someone, to try to help, with assistance with the documentation that they need to provide.
Thank you, Commissioner.
May I ask a question? Has there been conversations with the landlords about why they're pushing back on completing these forms or participating in the programs?
From the conversations I've had with the Home Free representative, they just don't want to participate. They don't want to fill it out. There's just no interest. There's also a lack of interest on the applicant side to do the work, because in the end, they don't get the money. It goes to someone else. So they're kind of having this attitude of, well, I'm not going to get the money, so it doesn't really benefit me, even though indirectly we know it benefits them because it allows them to stay in their home. But they're just not putting in the effort to get the documentation in. We had over 4,000 applications to the rental assistance within the first week of the website going up. Only 200 have been fulfilled, and it's because those 200 individuals have gotten in all the documents. Home Free has 5 people that are dedicated to working on this. They have been calling, they have been emailing, they have been doing written correspondence. Crickets. So again, until the people who are applying for the funding start doing the work, they're not going to get the reward. Even if it's indirectly, it doesn't come to their pocket directly, but indirectly, it helps pay their rent.
So for me, it sounds like we're all in agreement that there are issues, and I believe no one here is advocating for changing the requirements or lowering the threshold for, whether someone can opt into participating or not participate. But I do think that it does merit a conversation to explore deeper with a little bit of community outreach to determine, are there unseen barriers, whether it be not able to access certain documentation or not having the time or the wherewithal to produce that kind of documentation. These are just open questions that I think we don't have the expertise to answer ourselves, but what we do have is the opportunity here to make sure that those funds are available for all of those programs as we move forward. And that is what is before us today. So, we move forward, and as a board, we can look at those barriers, make sure that these programs are truly successful, and make sure that if there are unseen barriers, we're able to do what we can.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any additional comments? With that, we had a motion. I believe there was a second. Okay. With that, I'll call the question. Calling the question. So the motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Gambrill in opposition. We will move to agenda item number 29.
And item 29 is we're asking that a previous motion that was adopted December 15th be amended. At the last meeting of the Board of Commissioners in 2020, we asked that the coronavirus funds, which of course at that point in time, December 15th, the deadline was December 30th. So we asked that those monies, the unspent monies, be returned from any of the grantees, which of course their MOUs required that they all knew that the deadline was the 30th of December, that those monies be transferred from the various grantees into our public safety general funds. However, before the end of the year, before the deadline, of course, Congress passed the second relief, or well, actually, I think we're on 4 or 5. I'm not sure. The relief package that extended the coronavirus deadline to December 31st, 2021. As a result of that, we can use those monies for the purposes under the CARES Act. So we no longer need to move the monies to public safety at this point in time. So this agenda item simply amends the December 15th agenda item to eliminate the transfer to the public safety accounts.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion?
I just have one question, and I forgot to ask this in work session yesterday, so my apologies. So with the extension, did we extend the city's deadline to expend their funds, or did they already expend all their funds by the December 35th date?
The cities have fully expended their funds as of the December 30th original deadline.
Okay, so they didn't have any that they were going to turn back in.
That's correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So with that, we'll call the question. All right, the motion carries 5-0. Thank you. We'll move on to the next agenda item number 30.
And this agenda item, we are asking that $2 million be allocated to Must Ministries, the Center for Family Resources, and Sweetwater Mission for use as rental housing assistance. This is a program that had been developed before but was not approved previously. I have sent to Commissioners Richardson and Sheffield the presentation for September 8th when it was presented to the prior board. But this will allow the various nonprofits. They can be contacted by tenants or landlords. They can be referred through the magistrate court or any of their contacts. The nonprofits will work with the various tenants and the landlords to come to an agreement on the amount of rent that is due. They will, the landlords may waive fees, may waive back rent, but the parties will work together to come to an agreement. Each household that applies may receive up to $4,800 for rental assistance. And then that will, of course, be kind of set forth in a settlement agreement between the parties, and then the money's paid out to the landlord. So, of course, this agenda item, we're asking that $2 million be allocated equally among the 3 nonprofits that I just mentioned for rental assistance.
Okay, so moved. Is there a second? Second. Any questions or discussion? Commissioner Gambrell?
Yes, I have questions. Debbie, not to be critical of you, but one component of this MOU that you left out was the rehousing component that is included in this one, which is not included in the other MOUs. This rehousing essentially allows the tenant and the landlord, if they don't come to an agreement, to let the tenant out of the lease, for then the lease to go, for the tenant to then go and be housed in a new apartment, and that $4,800 go to that new rent. So it's not paying back rent, which again is kind of the purpose of the rent relief, but it's going to be instead paying rent forward. So then it potentially opens up the new landlord to be in the same situation that the existing landlord is in. And then while the existing landlord might want to go ahead and say, fine, let the tenant go ahead and give them the $4,800, pay for their next 4 months rent. Again, they can have another tenant come in and collect more rent, and then we just keep this revolving, spiraling door going of not being able to afford to pay rent. Again, what was discussed a couple agenda items ago, the Home Saver program, again, they have worked with the tenants, they have worked with the landlords. 3,800 applications are currently sitting out there waiting for funding, waiting for that $4,800. But again, the people aren't giving the money. So to sit here and reallocate it here, where there's accountability is going to be done through a spreadsheet, I have a hard time approving.
Okay.
And if I could address the rehousing aspect of this, the purpose, as I understand these programs, is to keep people in their houses and prevent evictions. What happens, as we know from the prior discussion, the parties don't always come to an agreement, whether they don't they don't agree to provide the documentation, or it might be a case where a landlord won't waive anything, there's nothing else the tenant can do. The nonprofits here are going to work with the landlords and the tenants. And in some cases, a landlord just doesn't want to deal with a tenant anymore for whatever reason. And we don't know all of those reasons, and we can't guess what those are. But there have been cases that I've spoken again to the nonprofits. The nonprofits have described instances where the landlord doesn't want to deal with this tenant anymore. They don't want to waive anything. They just don't want to do anything. But they'll let that tenant out of their lease. So rather than filing an eviction and having this tenant be homeless, these nonprofits will contact other landlords and say, I have $4,800, can you help with rehousing this tenant so that we prevent homelessness? So that is the rehousing. And as it's been described to me, it's not the first case. We don't want to move people if we don't have, these folks don't want to move people if they don't have to, but sometimes that is it's necessary, and it's an option in here. So it's to prevent evictions, is the $4,800.
Thank you, Commissioner Richardson.
Just a question. Most of the organizations that I've spoken with, it was about forward pay as well, not necessarily back pay.
I'm sorry?
Not necessarily addressing the back pay. It was more so focused on month to month as a forward pay of rent, not back pay.
Actually, as I understand the programs, there are instances where there are folks are in arrears. So it's a matter of how the landlord and the tenant agree to resolve that issue, whether it's arrears or new rent going forward.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, she
Commissioner
answered my
Sheffield?
question.
Yes. Commissioner Burrow?
Yes, I just want to reiterate my comments from yesterday on this particular one, that the three nonprofits and Star C and Home Free work together to make sure there's no duplication. And I think that's one of the requirements in the MOU, that they will provide communication among themselves and make sure that, the ones that are eligible are not receiving funds already from one of the others.
Okay, thank you.
But that's
Commissioner
also
Garfield?
where the disconnect is here, because we've got 3,800 names sitting out there in a queue waiting to be funded. Home Free has processed those to a point, not all 3,800, because we know a few were just discarded because they were not Cobb County homes. But essentially, we've got 3,800 applications sitting out there that are just waiting to be completed. Home Free will be, charging us, because again, they have already done the work. They have gotten it up to the point where they're ready to give the grant. So then the question is, okay, can this individual go to one of these nonprofits, apply for the grant, and get it? So then essentially they've applied for two, and we have now paid 2 administration fees because the tenant didn't choose to finish the process they began with the initial provider. So until we start integrating those as well, I think we have potential for fraud.
Thank you.
If I may comment?
Yes, ma'am.
We have reached out to, 2 comments actually. We have reached out to all of the parties, and we are going to, they have all agreed to work together to come up with the best way to make sure that there are not duplications to the extent possible. So we are working on that. We've sent the emails have been sent out, and we will, if this is approved, then we will reach out to them again and come up with a best solution that we can. As far as the administration fees, Star C and this particular program are paid on percentages. So whatever money we allocate, that will be the funds that are paid. Now, Home Free is on a per application basis. They have a different administration fee. So there may be some duplication in that particular regard if somebody applies for more than one program. But for the most part, it's a percentage fee. I mean, there's nothing that we can do about that.
Thank you. Are there any more comments or questions? I'll just add that since the pandemic hit, we've heard from a number of people who have had challenges with rent payment. And over that time, we have provided options to our residents by way of the Home Saver program, Home Free, and also Star C. With those programs, we've still learned that there are a number of residents who have had difficulty accessing those programs to be able to retain housing. I think the uniqueness of this agenda item and the unique opportunity dwells in the relationships and the accessibility that these 3 nonprofits have compared to the other organizations. Sweetwater Mission, Must Ministries, CFR have been in our communities for decades, working with our residents, dealing with their challenges, helping them on occasion, on multiple occasions, to ensure that those families are stable. The unfortunate matter is that a lot of our residents do not have these relationships with the other programs. While I appreciate all that Home Free is doing to be responsive, when you do go to their website, you don't see a Georgia address. You see a Maryland address. You see addresses from other states. you're dealing with someone who isn't proximate and who doesn't have that relationship that those who are in vulnerable communities have with our nonprofit providers. One of our speakers during public comment today shared that the unfortunate matter is that there is a longer-term fix that's needed, because even though we're talking about evictions, what we're really talking about is poverty that is directly correlated to the amount of money that people earned. And the unfortunate matter is that our country is evolving to a point where no matter how much certain people work, if they don't get out of a certain wage bracket, they're always going to have difficulty meeting their needs. And they're going to depend on programs that are provided through local service providers. And we are very fortunate in Cobb County to have a number of them that step up to help our Cobb County citizens. We've selected 3 here today that we are hoping can help fill the gap. And Commissioner Gamble, you're right. We don't know if all of the issues that you mentioned will be ameliorated. But I do appreciate you putting them on the table and other commissioners saying, now that we identify what those issues are, let's see what we can do to address it. But we still need to do what we can because we don't want to keep people from having housing. I could only imagine going from a pandemic to going to a crisis pertaining to homelessness. So I'm in support of these items. I do believe that I'm optimistic, I'll say that we can have a different outcome with the organizations that are before us in this agenda item. Time will tell, but we don't just have to wait on time. Again, with the commitment of our commissioners, if we try to wade through some of those issues, hopefully we can make this a more successful experience moving forward. So with that, I believe we have a motion, a second. I'm going to call the question. The motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Gamble in opposition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lastly, I'm sorry, we have one more agenda item before you leave, Debbie.
Oh.
It's the add-on, the green sheet.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm going to let Bill do you want me to do that?
No, I can do that.
Okay.
I was just getting your book for you.
Okay.
Okay. Morning, Chairman, Chairwoman Cupid, and Commissioners. We have one additional item, our add-on today. This is to authorize the application of the Emergency Rental Assistance Funding under the COVID Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2021. And what we're going to do with this is just simply to apply. Upon receipt of funds, we'll bring back a supplemental agenda item to accept the funds and appropriate at a later date once we know the exact amount. So this is just simply to apply. Okay, so today we're asking the Board of Commissioners authorize the application of the Emergency Rental Assistance Funding under the COVID Response and Relief Supplemental Act of 2021 and further authorize the County Manager and Chairwoman to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Call the question. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Debbie. We're going to move on to our DOT tab.
Good morning again, Chairwoman Cupid and Commissioners.
Good morning.
DOT has 8 items for consideration this morning. Our first item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve project number X2780-TO number 1 to the 2020 Master Task Order Contract with Gresham Smith and Partners in an amount not to exceed $256,294 for the preliminary engineering design of the Chattahoochee River Trail pedestrian improvements, Phase 1.
All right, Commissioner Sheffield, we'll have you call the motion.
Call the motion to approve agenda item 31.
There a second? All right, any questions?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Erica, is this the one that we had last year where the actual project cost for these 2 miles was like $12.4 million?
So that's the total, if we build out all the phases that we've considered. This is just for Phase 1, which is around $4 million, but we have applied for a grant to help supplement the funding on this.
But right now, we only have $1 million allocated in
We
this
do.
SPOS.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll call the motion. I'll call the question, excuse me. All right, the motion passes 4-1 with Commissioner Gamble in opposition.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our
Okay.
second item for consideration is requesting that the Board of Commissioners determine that circumstances are such that it is necessary to proceed with condemnation proceedings by declaration of taking under OCGA 32-3-4, authorize the commencement of condemnation proceedings on 2 parcels on Canton Road Corridor, project number X2602, adopt resolutions and orders in form substantially similar to the attached and is approved by the County Attorney's Office, and further authorize the Chair to execute the necessary documents.
Commissioner Burrow,
Motion to approve.
any questions? Call the question. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the revised budget and current schedule for the 2016 Transportation Improvements Program, funded primarily by the 2016 Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, and authorize the corresponding budget transactions for the 2016 SPLOST Transportation Improvement Program budget and scheduled attached.
So moved. Any questions? All right, we'll call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve the recommended rankings of the 3 most qualified firms for engineering design of Powder Springs Road Trail, project number X2706, and authorize negotiations for final scope and services of fees beginning with the top-ranked firm, Low Engineers LLC, utilizing selection process number 1, competitive negotiations.
All right, Commissioner Gamble,
So moved.
second.
Second.
Any questions? I call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 2 final to the contract with Accelera Construction LLC, a savings to the project in the amount of $64,441.98 for Gordon Combs Road sidewalk.
All right, Commissioner Gamble,
So moved.
second. Any questions? All right, we'll call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 3 final to the contract with R.J. Haney and Associates, the savings to the project in the amount of $505 for traffic signal timing or SCATS expansion.
All right. So moved. Any questions? All right, call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Our next item is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve 2021 countywide unit price contracts with 19 bidders for countywide construction and maintenance services through February 29th of 2024, and authorize the Chair to execute the necessary documents.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion, questions? All right, call the question. The motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. And the last item for consideration is requesting that the Board of Commissioners approve change order number 1 to the contract with Glosson Enterprises LLC, a no-cost time extension through February the 15th of 2021 for Discovery Boulevard sidewalks.
Commissioner Sheffield,
I approve this agenda item 38 to approve change order number 1.
all right, so moved for that agenda item. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any question or discussion? Call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Next, we're going to move on to our finance tab for agenda item number 39.
Good morning again. Finance has 1 item today. We're asking the Board of Commissioners to authorize the increase of the 2016 SPLOST budgets for the city contributions based on the actual collections of revenue above projected amounts, and further authorize the Chair to execute the necessary documents.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? I will call the question. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we're moving on to commissioner appointments. We will start with agenda item number 40, Commissioner Gamble.
Yes, I'd like to announce the reappointment of C.B. Fair to the Airport Advisory Board.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next we have agenda item number 41, Commissioner Richardson.
I'd like to introduce the approval reappointment of Roger Phelps to the Board of Tax Assessors.
Okay, by way of a motion?
Yes.
All
by way
right,
of
so
motion.
moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
It's
No, I
confusing, and
wasn't
should-
questioning it.
And I should have shared, some of these are announcements and some of these we approve, so we'll go with the flow here.
Okay.
Yes, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right.
Call to question?
Yes, call the question. All right, the motion carries 5-0. Agenda item number 42, Commissioner Burrow. Commissioner Burrow, are you with us?
I'm sorry, I was trying to unmute.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Yes, I would like to announce the reappointment of Chip Kaczynski to the Airport Advisory Board.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. You also have agenda item number 43, 44, and let's just look, okay, yeah, 43 and 44.
Oh, okay, these are just announcing, so you don't have to vote. Okay, sorry.
No.
That was the Airport Advisory Board, and I would like to announce the appointment of Rose Wing to the Historic Preservation Committee.
Very good.
And announce the appointment of Mary Rainwater to the Neighborhood Safety Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. And our final appointment, Commissioner Sheffield.
I would like to announce the reappointment of Carolyn Turner to the Board of Tax Assessors.
Thank you. We actually need to approve that particular item by way of a motion. So,
I make a motion to approve the reappointment of Carolyn Turner to the Board of Tax Assessors.
great, thank you.
Second.
We have a second?
Thanks, Jared.
Yes. Any discussion or question? All right, we'll call the question. I saw your hand up. The motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Commissioners. With that, we have made it through the bulk of our agenda, and we're still alive. Finally, we're going to have our public comment, and I'm going to go in numerical order from Commissioner Gambrill to Commissioner Richardson and Commissioner Burrow, then finally to Commissioner Sheffield.
Chairwoman, if I may.
Yes.
The public comment, there was no other
Thank you.
that signed up for that, so we concluded
Thank
that
you.
with this. Okay.
I remember. Thank you, appreciate that. All right, Commissioner Gambrill.
Thank you. Do you have the videos, Brad? Thank you. So first, I'd like to announce the Cobb County 4-H 2021 plant sale fundraiser. They have kicked this off. Early orders are now being taken. And the order deadline is Friday, March 5th, and then you can pick up your order at the Jim Miller Park. For more information, you can go to our extension office, or you can, sorry about that, everything's out of order here. Or you can call our extension office at 770-528-4070 to learn more about the program. But help support our Cobb 4-H program and plant your garden. This year, we've started a Community Conversations 2021. Last week, we asked the question of what made you a better person in 2020? And we had a thoughtful and insightful response from Reverend Evans of First Presbyterian Marietta. This week, our question is, what signs of hope do you see in 2021? We asked people to send your responses to myvoice@cobbcounty.org. We will have different guest writers help frame up our responses and write a article for the newsletter to then share with the public. So we look forward to you joining in that conversation and going from there. And then lastly, on January 19th, I will be joining host Jacqueline Charles at 4:30 p.m. on her The Women Are Worthy show. You can hear more about this on facebook.com at The Women Are Worthy show, and we look forward to that conversation as well. Thank you.
Thank Commissioner Richardson?
Not too much in the public address for today. I'm sure that will change for the future. But I'll be brief with my comments. Just happy to be here. I know this is a lot of people's first introduction to me, so I do want to let you know that very easy to reach out. Please do send me an email. We do have a community room that we've set up as well to make sure that we can tend to your comments, questions, issues, and source anything that you're interested in me bringing up while we're having our public comments and stuff as well. So please do reach out, and thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Burrell, do you have any announcements?
Yes, I do. I think Brad has some on the,
Yes,
on the screen.
they're pulled up on the screen.
Okay. I'd first like to wish everyone a very happy new year. Looking forward to 2021. Congratulations again, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
On your new role, and welcome to our two new commissioners, district commissioners, that I look forward to working with as well, Monique and Jericho.
Very good.
I apologize I couldn't be with you today in person, but I'm there in spirit and on the screen. So looking forward to a new and productive and healthy and prosperous 2021.
Very good. Thank you.
Our county offices will be closed on Monday in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King. And, you know, with all the challenges and uproar in our country and our county and our state going on, I think it's appropriate that we remember his legend and his faith and nonviolence strides for the civil rights movement. He was a great man, and I think we need to get back to his way of peaceful protests and hearing voices being heard. So we do have a county program planned virtual this year, which is different than in the past. But I look forward to participating online in honor of Dr. Martin Luther King on Monday. And then and the last announcement I have is the, I can't read it on the screen, but it's, GDOT is having, let me see here.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
GDOT is having a webinar for the 285 West Side Express Lanes project, and it is a virtual open house, and there's information on their website to attend virtually. I just wanted to put that out there for anyone interested. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Commissioner. At that, Commissioner.
Thank you, and congratulations to you again, Madam Chair and Commissioner Richardson, and I look forward to working with all of you lovely ladies over the next 4 years. Just a couple of things I'd like to highlight. Some District 4 spotlights, which was also in my newsletter this past week, but I'd like to congratulate Trey Hutchins. He is the latest addition to the Cobb County School Board, and he happens to be in my district. And if anybody knows Trey, everybody knows that he is a South Cobb resident stakeholder, and we're excited to have him join Post 3 in the Cobb County School District, and we're hoping that as we move forward as a board, we can collaborate with the school district for the future of our children. And also, I'd like to congratulate Monica Delancey, which she pretty much shared her story with you all earlier today, so I don't need to rehash that. But I would like to take a few minutes just to talk about our litter issue. And litter is a growing concern countywide, but particularly in District 4. And as I follow the social media threads and I drive by and I see people just volunteering, it really breaks my heart because we would all love to do different things with our Saturday mornings. And it doesn't take much. And I'm not saying that anybody in this room or even if anybody in your family is littering, but litter is a huge problem. We cannot move forward and have a productive Cobb if we can't do the very basics. And this is not an indictment or chastisement on anyone, but we have to do better with litter in our communities. To that end, I will invite you all to join me on Saturday, along with my Keep Cobb Beautiful appointees. We will have a cleanup on Queen Mill Road, and we'll meet at 9 a.m. at the church on the corner of Queen Mill and Veterans Memorial. Austell Community Task Force is partnered with Destiny World Church, and they will also have cleanup efforts on Monday, as well as We Thrive at Riverside. They have a weekend of activities, so I ask you all to just jump in. It really doesn't take much, and it makes a huge, huge difference in the way our communities look. One other thing, well, two other things, actually. I am still interviewing for board appointments. And I encourage you all, if you're listening or watching, if you would submit an application, you can visit my website on cobbcounty.org, and you can navigate your way through the site to find the link to sign up. My last comment is that I am calling and charging everyone to reconciliation. This has been a very difficult time, several weeks, and for our country. And I ask that we all join together in that healing process. We need to get past our political differences and ideologies. I always say the left wing and the right wing are part of the same bird. We all want the same things for our family. We may have a different thought process of how we go about doing that. But I call and urge all of us, whether you're in this room or you're watching or you're listening, let the reconciliation begin. We're all one people. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for those timely and moving remarks. I do have a couple of slides today, and it reiterates an opportunity that Commissioner Sheffield has, and I believe Commissioner Richardson also has, is for persons to apply for Board of Commissioner appointments that are specific to the chairman's role. And also I'm encouraging people, if you'd like for me to put forward your application to all the commissioners for BOC appointments, it's just a great way for everybody to learn about those who are interested in serving in Cobb. Typically, our board appointments are deemed as coveted positions for people to serve in leadership, but we have so many great people throughout the county that having these open processes gives us an ability to tap into the great people that live and work here. And just encourage you to consider applying to not only mine, but to those of the other commissioners, and also reaching out to Commissioner Burrow and Gambro if you're interested in serving on a board as well. Next slide. We had a robust update from Dr. Memark of Cobb Douglas Public Health today. But although we heard from her, I just wanted you to see a picture, because sometimes a picture could tell 1,000 words. And you could look at our confirmed cases of this pandemic from May until now and see that we are literally almost off the charts. And although there's a level of normalcy that we're all desiring that brings us together to try to have a sense of normalcy, I just want you to see how this pandemic is really getting out of hand, and that we are exceeding what we ever could have imagined. As I shared before, 100 out of 100,000 cases is considered high. We are almost at 8,000 out of 100,000 people, here in Cobb. And so we have to do our part to make sure that we stop contributing to the spread, do what we can to please wash your hands, wear a mask. I'm surprised at how many times I go out and I see people not putting a mask on. Just please wear your mask if you can. Distance, as our director shared, if you can avoid going out, please do so. It's not just about us, but As she shared, it's the system that we have that's supporting this. It's our public health system. And we can break this system if we don't get this under control. And I just absolutely would hate for us to get to that point, because our system is comprised of men and women who work in the field of public health, who work on the front lines as in that chosen field of being in the medical industry and being in nursing. So please, let's be mindful of them as we try to get through this. Lastly, I really appreciate the thoughtfulness of commissioners in talking about how we should be coming together and talking about MLK's legacy and looking forward to working with one another on, on our board, and talking about reconciliation and how we just recognize we have differences, but that we still need to come together. I absolutely agree, and it feels good to be on a board where, others feel that way. I believe if we continue to approach our work that way, we can be a shining light and an example, and hopefully can help to stem any activity or interest in ever reiterating what took place in our nation's capital last week. It was certainly abhorrent. It was a dark day for our history, but a day that I hope that is never repeated. In listening to the Rabbi's comments, he shared that sometimes negative events provides an awakening, and maybe it woke us up that we can do things a little bit better. So here's to 2021, and hoping that we can still be a little bit better than what we were the year before. Thank you, guys. Thank you for tuning in.